finally picked up an older book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Then I heard in the news the other day they just discovered that there's no intelligent life on Mars, only possibly single-celled organism. I hate spoilers when I haven't finished a book yet. Let's get to it. Welcome. Another episode of IBF On Demand. I'm your informative and lovable Martian and not so humble host, Eric Wilson. Thanks for the follows and subscribes. Keep it coming. You can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, though, when you're on there, because I like to grow our network. We're all a tribe. We're in this together. So I'd like you to be part of it so you can get the notifications as soon as these podcasts come out, wherever you're getting them. Spotify, Apple, wherever you're getting them. We do have a sponsor for today, Arqiva, your one-plan S&OP software solution. So thank them for being involved as well. I want to mention something coming up in May. So I mentioned a lot of times on these different conferences we have coming up, and just came from a actual physical in-person event a couple weeks ago, which was great. So if you get out, conference, look forward to actually seeing you at one. But I wanted to mention in May, we actually have a series of one-day online virtual events going on. There's a whole series of them, 6 courses. You can sign up for one, or you can save money and sign up for all 6. So they're throughout the month of May, different days. They're one-day intensive on different subjects like fundamentals of forecasting, S&OP, new products, supply chain, different topics. And we spend a whole day doing an intensive, 6, 7, 8 hours talking about that topic. So check it out in May. It is a virtual event, so anybody that still can't make it out, don't have the travel budget, we have this event in May I wanted to mention because it is a great event. You can cherry pick which ones you want to go to. Come to an all. I'm actually going to be doing one on S&OP and new products, so you can check me out. If you don't get enough of me here, you can come there and actually we can talk a little more in depth those days on that. You can ask questions during those days as well. So it's a live type of environment that you can actually interact and have your questions answered during those days as well. So check it out, ibf.org. Great event. Also, I do want to mention as well, I need your help. So this is my plea to you out there, audience. I need your help. Turns out, I haven't been writing as much as I should lately. I wanted to get at least 1 article, 2 articles out a month. I haven't been doing that lately. My editor, Andrew, has kind of been getting on my back because I'm not doing all my job. I'm neglecting my responsibilities. I'll take the blame there. You can help me out because if you submit an article, that takes some of the pressure off of me. So please, consider writing for IBF. You're part of this community. I mentioned you're part of this tribe. We're all in this together. Consider writing an article for IBF. You can submit it at demand-planning.com or ibf.org for the journal. Reach out to me, Eric at ibf.org, Eric at ibf.org. I can definitely point you in the right direction, or you can go to ibf.org and you can actually find, be a contributor, what it takes. We're looking for your expertise or your stories or what you want to share with the community. That's what we're about. We're a membership organization, but we're really about sharing from one practitioner to another practitioner is what we're built upon. So your stories, your ideas is really what you want to hear, even more so than mine. So please, get me off the hook with my editor. He's been bugging me a lot lately. Please, consider helping me out. Submit an article so that I can come back to do what I enjoy here, talking to you at the podcast. Okay, today's podcast, full disclosure, today's podcast was my daughter saying that I would be really cool if I had someone on from Tesla. Well, challenge accepted. See, it turns out, I think she has this crush on Elon Musk or something because of what he does and who he is. But I figured, challenge accepted, I'm going to have someone on. Couldn't exactly get Elon, but I got a great guest today who actually used to work for Tesla for about 6 years. Now, also the topic though, full disclosure on the topic, I chose the topic. It's something that I know absolutely nothing about personally, but I wanted to talk about anyway. Women and diversity in our field and industry. That said, I do have a bias. The reason I have a bias is back to that 12-year-old who I'm really cool in her eyes now because I have someone on from Tesla. That 12-year-old daughter, I want her to grow up in a world where she has equal opportunity, where she can do what she wants, and she has people as role models that's already done it before she gets there. I want her to be a role model as well and a trendsetter, but I want her to see people in positions of power and authority that are women that she can then push to, not just Elon Musk. So I want role models that look like her, and she can grow up not thinking about diversity, not thinking about those things, but being measured honestly on what she can do and what she can contribute. So with that, I have a guest today, and I'm going to have this difficult conversation that I know nothing about, but I'm hoping she can contribute to this conversation and we can have a great conversation. Hazel is a master's in engineering from Oklahoma State University. She started off actually in the oil and gas industry and later took the opportunity of a global demand manager at Tesla. She worked there for 6 years, actually leading the demand planning and S&OP executive forums. She's at Google and is the manager of demand and capacity planning for Google Cloud and their capacity center of operations. She is passionate data explorer with a drive to make informed decisions, a believer in effective communications, and listener to a successful collaborative and business teams to excel. Help me welcome Hazel. So welcome, Hazel. Happy to have you here.
Glad to be here, Eric.
Yep. I said, today you're the expert because I said this is a topic I know nothing about. So you're going to actually be the expert today. So I'm glad that you were able to join us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here.
So first of all, I mentioned my 12-year-old daughter. So to get it out of the way, have you actually met Elon when you worked at Tesla? And can you get those two so they can talk?
I have met Elon when I was working for Tesla in one of meetings, and he's just a cool guy who walks around the floor, and we all get to see him. So it's not secretive, and we all get to exchange a few comments with him. But yeah, I have met him. About her getting to talk to him, I'm not quite sure. He's one of the most popular guys in the world right now, so we'll see. We'll have to post up.
It's going to elevate her and elevate me in her eyes. So just having you on is going to help me with that because you've met him. See, so what I wanted to talk about is, and I mean, it's great that you had this experience at Tesla and now you're with Google. I think the cloud capacity is where you're at now with Google, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Correct.
you've had a great career to this point, and you actually worked in demand planning. What got you into the role of demand planning, S&OP? Because nobody gets here on purpose. Well, I've understood that in there. So how do you accidentally get to this career?
Great question, Eric. So when I came to United States, I came for my master's degree in industrial engineering. And industrial engineering is such a wide field that it comprises of supply chain and planning and analytics and information technology and a lot of different areas. I graduated and I started in an oil and gas company doing a lot of supply chain kind of a role. So it was all about business operations and supply chain. I worked for Sumitomo for a good around 3 years. And that's when I truly recognized the fact that how important it is for sales and planning worlds to converge and talk to one another in order to successfully implement the business. So that's when this thought came to my mind that I want to be in the field of demand planning and specialize in that area versus a broader supply chain purchasing and more of the demand supply balancing act. So that opened up my persuasion of demand planning. Luckily enough, I got an opportunity to work for Tesla. At Tesla, I started as an inventory analyst. So pretty much doing a lot of the planning on the components. As you can imagine, car companies, way too many components, and how do you optimize your inventory and stuff of that nature. But soon enough, given that I kept on pursuing demand planning and SNOPs and stuff of that nature for the audience, SNOPs, sales and operations planning, right? I pretty much pushed myself to get into that area of planning. It was a function within Tesla that was not uh, created just yet, because when we launched, there was a lot of craze of demand. In fact, the demand was all there. It was just a matter of supply coming about and building cars. There was not a lot of focus on like what's going to happen 5 years from now, when our pipelines are going to grow smaller in terms of demand funnels. And that's when I introduced this concept of let's talk, let's plan with sales. And we need to build this cohort within our planning arenas within Tesla. And I got a lot of support from the executive sponsors to make this happen, which I think is a very important point when it comes to demand planning and SNOPs, that there should be an executive buy-in and a lot of dedication to make that happen and support the working level groups. And that's how I landed there, continued doing that for a good few years before I moved to Google, again within demand planning.
So you've had a great career, and be able to introduce the S&OP process there at Tesla and everything, what you did. Now, coming on, 6, 7 years ago when you first started into the industry, oil and gas, honest conversation, were you surprised about the diversity or lack thereof in demand planning, supply chain type of roles at that point? I know we come a long ways, but 6 years ago, it's
Absolutely.
a different picture.
It was, especially coming from an oil and gas industry, right? When I was in oil and gas, in school, we learned that we want to optimize an inventory holding costs, and those things have to be at the lowest, and we should be lean and carrying inventory. But that was not the case when it comes to oil and gas, because the cost of not having a pipe on the ground for drilling, it's going to cost you $1 million a day, right? So you can't go down, which means that you have to carry surplus inventory in your warehouse to ensure that there is always a plan B if something doesn't work, which means that the inventory optimization that we all think of coming out of school is a bit different when it comes to oil and gas. That perspective completely changes when you come to a very hardware driven car companies, or even product driven companies like Apple, and as a matter of fact Google as well, when it comes to devices. So the lay of the land is absolutely very different in terms of what used to happen before, especially in the oil and gas comparison to what it is today. It, also, if you compare it, just the way we perceive the planning worlds, with the tech that we have, the analytics that we have, the compute powers that we have, various modelings, data science has become such a big thing when it comes to forecasting. It's just drastically changed the way we thinking of supply chain now in this generation. Um,
Now, so when you coming into the roles type situation, there, there was not a lot of people who looked like you probably in these roles,
mhm,
correct?
mhm.
Is that one of the problems?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when coming out of school, you don't think about demand planning as such from a career perspective, because there is this notion that you need to build in a lot of experience before you get into a demand planning kind of a role, so that you understand end-to-end supply chain. Wherein today the schematics have changed a bit. Today, even within Google Cloud that I'm part of, we do tend to get a lot of new hires from school, as long as they have a working level understanding of what supply chain is all about. The reason that shift has happened is because of the technology that is available. Nobody is expected to be a data science expert, but then you have the software that can do the analytical work, as long as you know the basics and as long as you're able to connect the dots. So I think that's a big difference in terms of how things happened 10 years ago versus what it is today.
Okay, so you mentioned that in colleges, I mean, there's a lot more happening today than what happened before. but it still doesn't seem like a lot of people choose this as a career path, especially women still. How do we get, or why? Why don't they choose demand planning? Because I think it's a great role for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased, I admit, but still, why isn't this the go-to type of career path for people in college, especially women? And then how do we get more women involved in demand planning, S&OP, predictive analytics?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, $1 million question. um, I would think that a lot of people think of demand planning as a part of a supply chain umbrella. And I feel like there is this notion that you need to understand purchasing and you need to understand sourcing and all of those things to get into demand planning, which is not true, right? In fact, this is more strategic in nature. It's much more aligning with leading the organization and shaping the way the organization behaves. So, in fact, I feel like there is this common sense of perception that, oh, if you want to get into demand planning, you need to come into the sales org and get into planning and analytics, which is not true. Demand planning is a very hardcore supply chain oriented mindset, but it's a bit different because we don't, I think historically we've not showcased it as more like strategic planning, right? Diversifying the org and how closely it's related to sales. You need not be a sales guru to make this happen, but that's where you enable both supply chain and sales to move the org forward. So I think it's a lack of understanding and a lack of or misinterpretation that demand planning in order to get to demand planning you have to become a financial analyst or a sales analyst and get into business planning and stuff like that, but that's not true. It's very closely related to the heart of supply chain, in my opinion.
I haven't heard it put that way, but you're exactly correct. I mean, it is the more strategic, and I think there is that misconception coming in supply chain of sourcing and older manufacturing environments, and that's not what we're doing. And I think that's great insights there for someone coming into it that we need to kind of highlight then. Okay, you've managed a lot of teams. You had some key roles there in your past, and different teams. And I know Google, they're all about creating teams. How do you see diversity actually help with those teams and S&OP and other teams you're currently are working with right now? How does diversity of thought and everything help with those groups?
Uh, yeah. So I guess diversity is critical because it brings in so many perspectives as to how one should lead challenges or blockers and unblock issues. So, with respect to the team, I usually tend to rely on having folks coming from different experiences and different walks of life. Somebody coming from an oil and gas industry, for instance, somebody like me, bring in a different set of values versus somebody coming from a more like a tech environment like Apple or Cisco's and folks within that group. And it's all about the combination of these great ideas as to how best to unblock it. So a diversity in experiences it definitely help build a very strong team, and B, diversity even in terms of the gender ratios, right? A lot of times we tend to have this tendency that, and I experience this with Google Cloud myself, that when you are in a tech environment, there are a lot of male colleagues around you versus female colleagues. However, that perception in the last 5 years has been changing dramatically. And it's important to have a healthy mix of both genders just because we all bring different experiences and different perspectives to the table, right? There have been tens and thousands of studies led as to where women can be very strong leaders and where male support can very well help the team and shape the groups. So, yeah, background and gender equality essentially are key to bring in the diversity in growing teams and bringing them up.
Okay, so we we know that, and we see kind of that starting to make headways now. type thing. So, I mean, the tough question. You thought the last one was $1 million question. This would be a $2 million question then. Looking at it from our experience at conferences, we have, 40-50% of the audience. Now I'm starting to see our females in the audience and our women, but we're not getting that reflection on the stage. And the same thing's happening in the boardrooms now as well. We're seeing inroads. How do we get the next wave? How do we get the women on the stage? How do we get the women in to those, leading roles? In your, just can be your opinion, what do you need to do?
To be honest, Eric, I really think that there has to be a bit more visibility and a bit more, has to be people like me to come forward and provide examples. Hey, I'm not a VP just yet, or I'm not a director just yet, but I hope yet. But I hope to get there in the next few years, which means that everything that I've gathered from an experience perspective, right, needs to be spoken about. And those examples need to be laid out for women, especially, that here is how you can get to different areas, and here's how you can evolve, and here's the path in doing so. It takes a lot of maneuvering, right? Undoubtedly. But I think we need to have a lot of mid-layer examples for the young women rather than just the directors and the VPs, because soon enough, and we are seeing this shift even at the org levels and even at the leadership levels, that soon things have started to change wherein there are more women on the board, and it's slowly rippling in. But I think it's the mid-layer management today that's going to shape the future 10 years from now. And those managers like me need to come up and about and speak up and showcase examples to encourage women to take these career paths and have discussions, right? Have healthy discussions around it.
Exactly right. They need the role models. My 12-year-old needs to see role models. They need to see you and others in those positions to feel more comfortable. People, they do what they see them, people who look like them and doing the similar things. That's what they gravitate towards. So I thank you for being one of those trailblazers for my daughter. And what you said, I can't agree with more. So the next question, progressively getting harder. So we had the $1 million question, $2 million question. This would be the $5 million question. And once, I like your honesty. Be honest with me. Be honest with the audience type situation. I know what you need to do. What do I need to do? What do men need to do? How can we be more aware? How can we look at this and be more aware of what's going on and understand our biases in this process as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best thing men can do is become allies, right? In terms of women talking or representing them better, standing up for them when they see discrimination at workplace, and become their allies in this journey to help them grow and be much more impactful and powerful, and encourage them. Because we all get into different situations in life, right? A woman is much more attached in terms of the whole uh, parental aspect. Not to say that, not to sound biased towards it, but then the fact that you deliver and all of those things, and you have those sort of journeys to go through as well. So the biggest support that one can provide in this is male allyship than anything else, and giving opportunity of growth, right? I would personally say this, that my husband has become my greatest ally when it comes to these things, wherein he would encourage me, help me, support me in different areas. So it's not just about work, but even as spouses or even as partners. This is where it can really make a difference and encourage women to, take the lead and take risks and go in full on to make this happen.
See, you nailed it. $5 million question, you nailed it. I think great advice, and I'll take some of that to heart as well. So I'll end with a little easy question then for you. You're an inspiration. You've done a lot. You have that person right now is in college that happens to wander upon this podcast for some unknown reason, and they're listening right now. We caught their attention. What's the little thing that she could be doing, or advice to my daughter, the 12-year-old, kind of what she need to be focusing on right now in her career?
I would say two things. A, don't forget to dream. And B, challenge the status quo, right? That's the only way you move ahead and you make things happen. There are so many inspirational women leaders around us, Indra Nooyi and name it, right? We have so many of them within Google itself that they continue to inspire us. But then a common theme that I've seen is don't forget to dream, right? And challenge the status quo. And it'll all work in your favor.
That's the perfect way to end it. I can't think of any better quote and words of wisdom to end it on. So with that, I want to thank you very much. It's been a pleasurable conversation. I said I was out of my comfort zone, out of my expertise, but it's been a great conversation to have.
Same here, Eric. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for offering this as a platform to reach out to other people within this group of our world of supply chain. At least, hopefully, that'll encourage some of them to keep pursuing these areas.
We inspired a couple more, at least my daughter, if nothing else.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. So good interview. Said a little bit uncomfortable for me, but it was a good interview. Continuing that conversation now, research continues to show that inclusive cultures outperforms less diverse organizations. There's statistics that back that up. There's a direct correlation to S&OP and the impact of business and the diversity of the groups that are part of that S&OP process. Direct correlation to maturity of those organizations. Even just in demand planning, getting us close to the demand and understanding consumer behavior is what we're consistently trying to do. 85% of all buying decisions are made by women. But still you see some organizations that 100% of the planners are men still. Now, having an honest conversation, I don't think the problem is getting women involved in our field. Yeah, there's still work to do. I get that. But in 2014, since then, there's been a continuous push for the past 6-7 years now. Have we gotten there? No, there's still room to go, but we got Girls Who Code, STEM programs, supply chain pushes, individual organizations are being more cognizant. They're doing pushes. My daughter, she's 12. She currently plays Minecraft and does coding. So she's being, familiarized with it at an early age. So we see the growth that's happening, especially for the next generation. Demand planning, predictive analytics, S&OP related fields, right now, 41% are female. It's still not maybe the 50%, but over 40% are female in this. There is good old board networks out there, especially strong around some, old manufacturing type environments. Even Google is only 32% women. My concern is less about that. My concern is that even at our conferences, the 50% of the audience of the conferences that are female, fantastic. The stage does not reflect that. Less than 20% of people in our field are the bosses that are women. So there is a disproportionate women that are being advancing, or disproportionate, where I'm concerned, and or I can maybe do something different, is on the stages at these conferences. I agree. We need to have awareness. We need to continue to push at early ages. We need to do those things. We need to continue initiatives. Right now, almost 60%, 59% of organizations have initiatives in place. Wonderful. But we also need to promote women. We need to find women that are qualified and give them the chance and help promote them. It kind of goes into that logic of what I said with my daughter. If she can see someone in a position and a role model, she's more apt to go after that role model. If we can see women in places of authority and in different roles that maybe weren't traditional roles for them, more women are maybe can aspire to those positions. That's the see me type of logic that needs to be set as the foundation. And we need to help promote that, to help promote where they can be seen. But I'm always about personal responsibility in everything I promote and everything I've done. It's been a bedrock of my life. And with that, I'm going to put the responsibility back on you as well, because they need to see you. I've already said, I will help promote. I will help promote qualified people who want a position, who wants to get on stage, who wants to do something in the industry. I will help promote you. I'm giving you the invitation right now. But you have to be that trailblazer so other people see you in that position. I want you to get involved. I want you to write an article. We had an entire Journal of Business Forecasting, a special issue, a couple years ago, entirely written by women in demand. Entire article. Love to do it again if we have enough people. Honestly, it's disproportionate. The people who are submitting articles, disproportionate right now with what we see in the audience and what I see in the field. There's not enough women right now that's contributing. I want you to contribute. Please consider contributing and being part of IBF, being part of the demand planning community. I want you to submit an article, whether for a blog or a journal. I'll help you with anything I can do, or give you somebody else as a mentor that can help help put together a good article that you want to share what you're doing. Speak at a conference. Be part of a panel. I want to see 40-50% of the speakers that are women at the next conference. The way we can get there is, I can keep asking and I can, find and ask individual people, which I'm doing, but I need you to meet me part way. Please, Eric@IBF.org. Go to IBF website, whatever you need to do. Sign up, say, I'd love to speak at a future conference. I'd love to share my perspective. I want to see that diversity kind of grow in our field, and I want to personally do something about it. So consider writing, consider speaking, consider becoming a mentor, encouraging others in the field to do the same thing. That's how we're going to continue to grow. I'm going to do my part. I want you to do your part as well. Well, I'm going to go play some Minecraft with my daughter, and I challenge you to step up and become that role model, or help promote other role models if you're in a position that you can help them as well. My name is Eric. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. Let me know what you think. Let me know where I'm wrong, how I can help. I want to thank Arkiva as well, your one-plan S&OP software solution, a great partner. Check out IBF at ibf.org on ways you can contribute, ways you can help. Check out upcoming conferences. I mentioned the one in May. It's a great online event. Check that out as well. And one thing that's equal, no matter race, gender, nationality, no matter what, there's one thing that is equal for all of us. Wash your hands.